about that now. We just need to prepare. Here, take Paimon's notes. They should help you review the situation. What do we do? The whole situation is so confusing. Good plan. Impossible things don't just happen. We'll get to the truth one way or another.
Just relax. Even if everyone else suspects Lenny and Lynette, at least we will be supporting them from the stands. Besides, I doubt Farina understands any more about what happened than we do.
Thanks, Navia. Well, we'll be going then.
Best of luck to you.
Ah, finally, you're back. Well, how did your investigation go?
To be honest, you might be disappointed.
No. We're already very grateful that you were willing to help.
Well now, don't you all look disappointed? Don't tell me that your investigation came up empty-handed. That was to be expected, of course. The guilty can never produce proof of their innocence. But don't let that stop you. I shall be terribly disappointed should you, my
Since both parties are present, I declare that the trial regarding the magic show incident is now in session.
Ma solo a me
In
quest'uomo fa
order for the
venire i
audience to
brividi.
understand the causes and results of the incident, could we please have Mr. Linney explain the trick?
Yes, of course. I will explain while Lynette demonstrates on stage. All the...
Thank you, Mr. Linney. In that case, I take your statement to be that you ran to and remained hidden within the magic box in the audience stands once the trick began.
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
In that case, I call upon the prosecution. Lady Farina, do you...
Why, of course I do. Allow me to take the first shot and break this case wide open. Mr. Linney is clearly lying. There is no way you could have been in the box the whole time if you were to abduct Halsey and murder Cowell.
That is simply your hypothesis based on the presumption that I'm guilty.
Oh, is that so? And if I may ask...
The roaring countdown of the crowd, of course. That's how I kept track of the time
And you didn't hear anything else?
No, nothing.
I see. But when the count reached 30 seconds or so, there was a thud.
Huh?
Hey, hang on. Something's not right here.
Yeah, I'm sure he could have heard a noise that loud from inside the box.
I was right by the box, and I definitely heard...
Look at those scales. Could those mean...
Well then, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to use the words of the magician himself. Of course, I have armed myself to do far more than smash your alibi. Confidence cannot go unfounded, and my foundations are rock. Tell me, aren't you and Lynette actually from the House of the Hearth?
The House of the Hearth?
No wonder they did something like this.
So the serial disappearances were the Fatsui's doing.
I've got a feeling that what happened on stage probably wasn't...
That's irrelevant. Our identities have nothing to do with what happened.
Indeed. Then perhaps you could tell us Your first priority is to prove yourself innocent after all. I'm sure there is little that needs to be kept... The Outlander is speechless. My, oh my, don't they look flabbergasted? Now comes the infighting and good thing I made all those preparations. See...
Hey, Linny, why didn't you tell...
Order! Order! Mr. Linney, Allow me to First, when the thud was heard in the Opera House, you were neither in the box nor the tunnel. Second, Are these claims true? Please answer my question, Mr. Linney.
I'm sorry. Yes, they're true, Your Honor.
I knew it!
Well, that's it. We might as well move on to the sentence.
What should we do now?
Granted. In that case, what is your request?
Is that really necessary?
The defendant deceived their own attorneys.
Order! Order, I say! Your request is reasonable, and we shall adjourn. This trial...
So you would stick to Mr. Linney's... In that case, my dear audience, let's allow...
Per ora non mi piace per niente il personaggio di Furina, però va bene.
Well, this is awkward. I didn't think the Hydro Archon would take... I'm sorry, Traveler and...
Yeah, sorry.
Paimon doesn't know where to start. We based our entire reasoning on the assumption that you weren't bad guys. Not to set the wrong tone or anything, but Paimon's...
I'm very sorry. I know you're angry, and I know you've clashed with the Fatui several times before. I wouldn't be surprised if just hearing the word is enough to make you upset. But our organization is very, very large, and the Harbingers have very different personalities and goals.
Right now, we want to save people. As many as we can.
That's right. I'm sure we're on the same page when it comes to this nation and the disaster. I knew if it weren't for our respective identities, we could become good friends. That's why I didn't wish to flat out lie to you, but chose to hide some details, and the truth is very important, but being completely transparent about everything would see us spending more effort than we need to. Right. So, you be the judge. Heck, if I were you, I fear that you met a Fatus who works as a magician, a trickster by trade. But still, I'm asking you to trust me.
Sorry. Please forgive us.
Well, you both say that, but... Right. Let's hear your answer first.
Of course. I'll answer any question. We've been trying to find out how the Oratrice operates. We want to know why it has a consciousness. During our investigations, we learned that the machine's core is beneath it. From that moment on, Lynette and I have been designing this box swap trick with the...
Is that why you needed a whole minute?
That's right. In truth, the audience would take about 75 seconds to count down from 60, while I would only... So, after jumping into the tunnel, I accessed the Opera House basement via the vent, and went to
That air vent was created during the construction of the tunnel, specifically to execute the...
Well, nothing. As soon as I reached that room and was which should have been impossible, of course, I was quite certain that voice seemed to recognize me and tried to speak to me. I chose to air. On the way back, I saw the broken vase and the clothes on the ground, but the countdown was almost finished. After that, the homicide occurred just as...
Well, that explains why you didn't hear the thud.
Because of that prophecy I told you about, of course. We must know all we can about this nation's secrets in order to deal with that prophesized crisis.
That's the only way we can save everyone.
So, there you have it. The whole truth. I swear, I didn't hide anything from you this time. It was never my wish to proceed under this cloud of mistrust either. But, like I said earlier, you can be the judge. If you want to leave because you don't trust the Fatui, there's nothing I can do to stop you.
Well, Traveler, you decide. Paimon will follow your lead however you choose.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for giving us a chance.
The current problem is that the scales are tipped pretty badly. If we want to refute the Hydro Archon's accusations, we're... Huh?
Both parties have returned to their positions. Let us continue the trial. When last we left off, Mr. Linney acknowledged the new evidence presented by Lady Farina as fact. Therefore, Lady Farina may continue stating her reconstruction of the events.
That took long enough. At this stage, let's revisit that scene from Linny's perspective. As the countdown began,
Ma quale
he
figata è questa
entered the
cosa?
tunnel. When the flatbed trolley passed, he opened the box and got into an altar. He did not realize that this sound could be heard by everyone in the opera. Finally, he used the vase to knock her out before making her. At this time, Cowell arrived in the tunnel, having heard that strange. So Linny proceeded to knock him out. Afterward, Linny passed the unconscious Halsey to his accomplice through the magic. And there you have it.
Does the defendant's side have any objections to Lady...
The key to refuting Lady Farina is the order of events. According to Linny, he left via the vent after entering the tunnel. He... Linny went to the room that contains the oratory. Linny did not.
Attention! When the countdown started, Linny did, but he immediately used a vent to access the opera house. Once he reached that area, he heard a voice. The crime scene had already developed by the time he reached the tunnel. Finally, he reached the surface, and that...
Adoro questo metodo, ragazzi.
Paimon did it! Paimon actually...
In other words, you believe that he knew
That's right!
My reasoning?
If that's the case, then if Cowell hadn't entered the tunnel, who was the assuming that what you say is true, Linny only needed to kidnap the young girl to cause a new disappearance case.
Oh, they have a point.
That's right, you tell him! And that's what... Oh, well, your denial is very strident. I'll give you that. But what... Of course I do. If he had been in the magic box... You're saying that he wasn't?
sure we don't need to give this more thought. Paimon thinks there's something off here. That's right! Lenny wasn't in the box or... This means that when the crime happened, the same clue you used to disprove his alibi has...
Well played. To think you'd use such logic. Well then, if it wasn't Lenny who committed the crimes, then who was it? Could there have been a third person involved? Halsey is the missing person and an ordinary audience member. The deceased's name is Cowell, Lenny's assistant.
Sono una detective provetta.
That can't be right. Are you serious? The killer was, in fact, Cowell, the deceased!
Oh, is that so? What I must do next is recreate the truth. What Cowell did, and how he went from would-be sound we heard may have come from a... Halsey's clothing was in the... Lenny was not in the tunnel at... Halsey's clothing was in the... The deceased's name is Cowell, Lenny's assistant. It would have been tough for both people to... No one entered or left the
What's wrong, Traveler? Are you still having trouble figuring things out?
I see how it is.
Look, since we're at a dead end, why not just like the trick as it transpired, the end result must have been utterly different from the magician's initial
If only we knew how Halsey disappeared.
Well, that would be nice, but the tunnel only has 3 exits. And it's not like this is a magic trick where you can just make a real live person disappear.
Excuse...
If the defense is unable to make further effective arguments, we will move on to the next stage of the trial.
Lenny was not in the tunnel at that moment, which the sound we heard may have come from a clash, but the deceased's name is Cowell, Lenny's assistant. The vase was not broken by chance.
Paimon gets it! It all comes together if Halsey disappeared. Lynette escaped from the water tank, vanishing gradually and leaving only clothes behind. If there's a similar method where a person...
Just a moment, please. How could a person ever be transformed into water? Must we really? Magic tricks are ultimately just illusion.
Even so, I trust the traveler's judgment. The truth must be out there somewhere. Perhaps some new line of... Since Cal was the deceased, we haven't placed much attention on him. But given that we aren't making much progress with the case, it wouldn't hurt to...
People really do come up with all sorts of harebrained schemes when at the end...
Nevertheless, I believe that this is a reasonable request on the part of an attorney. Since the trial does indeed appear to be at an impasse, I believe that additional evidence may have... Guards, please step into the lounge and examine the...
Lo sto adorando.
We are still
Neuvillette, lo
examining the
sto
items,
adorando.
but we have already made critical progress that we feel must be shared with everyone post-haste. We discovered several test tubes of fluid within Cowell's baggage. The notebook in his backpack claims that these fluids are...
the primordial seed.
The note's contents also indicate that Cowell belonged to an organization that sells illegal drugs and that he had an accomplice. The notebook has many entries concerning safe usage of these fluids, in which the keyword one of these tubes was labeled Opera Epiclese, along with yesterday's date. The notes also state that these dissolution properties work exclusively. As such, we believe that the defense's hypothesis is, in fact, supported.
You've got to be kidding! People dissolving...
Could something so ridiculous actually...
Wait a moment. This reminds me of a certain prophecy, but...
If people can become water, does that mean that the water tank's real use was as a means to hide waters? Wait just a minute. Could that mean... You two, with me, quick!
Demoiselle, wait! What about your partners?
Let's go. Just trust me.
Order! Order! It is undeniable that further examination of the deceased's personal effects has yielded some surprising results, but we cannot yet verify the veracity of these clues. Still, let us assume that these clues are indeed authentic, albeit with the understanding that Ms. Halsey has yet to be found. Guards, please continue examining the items along these lines. Mr. Linney, it appears your hypothesis is supported by the evidence, so please continue speaking.
Of course. Thank you. If we uphold this hypothesis, I believe that many of this case is seemingly
Right! Like the metal hook! That one didn't make sense. Let's think about this. Cowell's methods must have something to do with that water from the primordial...
Now it seems like the hook rope was not meant for another magic trick. The water from the primordial sea should already have been prepped before Halsey... Lynette was in the magic box on stage the entire time. I remember there was something else within the inner layer of that box. The rope that strung the water tank up was lit by the fireworks and... The water from the primordial sea... Now it seems like the hook rope was not... The deceased's name is Cowell, Lynette was in the magic box on... I remember there was something else with... The rope that strung the water... The water from the primordial sea... The deceased's name is Cowell.
would tamper with the... When the magic box containing Halsey was lowered, the metal hook would retract when the balloon attached to the box popped. The water from... Afterward, Cowell would enter the tunnel and break the flower vase to... But he encountered something.
Huh. That does make sense.
That actually links together a lot of the more confusing.
Oh dear, what do I do? Even I think they sound convincing now.
Now, it seems like the only point of contention his notes mentioned he had an accomplice who could be related to...
On that note, the guards have just contacted me indicating that they... I shall now invite him on stage to share it with...
Thank you, Your Honor. We were just inspecting the luggage of the other people involved in this case. And we found an identical sample of the water from the primordial sea among Linny's personal effects.
What?
That can't be.
Oh, I see. Does this not clear all my dear citizens, my loyal audience, allow me to present my reasoning and bring this performance to a swift close. Linny did not need to take part in the dissolution of the... Having made modifications to the props beforehand, but upon his return, in cruel ultimately, he knocked Cowell out, and the tool meant now as much... Am I right?
We've used up all the evidence we collected. There's no way for us to make a Is this the end of the...
Oh no. Paimon can't think of anything either. It doesn't look like there's any way around this. Seems using the water as new evidence was...
I think we've all seen enough now. And I believe this is indeed... Now then, my good, noble...
Excuse me, everyone, but I must interject.
Miss, I must ask you not to shout and to respect the ongoing legal proceedings.
Oh, come on. Don't be hasty. I have a good reason for interrupting, you know. Now, would anyone here like to take a little break from all this debate and see a little magic? I'll show you an amazing trick. One that can bring a young woman who has disappeared back in the flesh, right before your...
What in the world is she saying?
No offense, miss, but miracles like that are beyond my scope.
Come on now, don't be silly. Magic is all about misdirection, isn't it? It often conceals the truth while presenting a fascinating... But once everyone believes the illusion, can't magic reveal the truth to them once again? And wouldn't such a trick be the most marvelous finale? Come on, Linny and Lynette, give it another go. Don't worry. Spina di Rosula has made the necessary... But, as the magic makers and stars of the show...
I understand.
And voila. Sorry for the interruption.
Wait, isn't that Halsey? So the whole thing about people dissolving wasn't true after all?
To be clear, I'm only here because this person told me that if I testified, the merit of doing so would lessen my sentence. I was hiding outside this room listening to the proceedings because I was afraid that I would be the one put on trial. I was just feeling happy that no one had noticed me, and then before I knew it, she caught me.
That'll teach you to underestimate us three.
Where should I begin? I'm sorry. I'm the one who killed Cowell. I admit it.
What? Why?
Firstly, my name isn't Halsey. It's Lillian, and I'm originally from Mondstadt. I heard that Linny's show was gonna be a real thriller, but I missed the chance to buy a ticket. That's how I make a living. I steal stuff here and there. But I was noticed at the harbor a few days ago, and I barely got away.
Hey! No wonder you look familiar. So you... Liddy even mentioned that you were pretty skilled.
Well, and I thought that would have been the end of it, but then the number selector chose me. He even mentioned the Fortress of Meripede. That's a prison, isn't it? So you can imagine how shocked I was. So I played along with the show while looking for an opening to flee. But then I got water poured on me for no reason, and then someone... I wasn't going to take that lying down, so I knocked him out and stuck... There was nowhere to run from there, though, so I had to change my clothes and hide in a box. I slipped out after the first guard arrived at the scene, and continued hiding inside the opera house.
Can a person even hide in there?
But I swear, I didn't know that the water tank would fall down. Really, I swear it. Had I known that, I wouldn't have put him in the magic box. I may be if...
Well, that makes everything pretty clear now, doesn't it?
This time, we need to tell the entire story from Lillian's perspective. The strange sound wasn't from a... The flower vase was not... Lillian...
And it's Ace Detective Paimon time! Having been selected out of the blue, her panic only intensified after she entered the tunnel and had water poured on her head. So she kicked the door open. Hearing the commotion, Cowell leapt into the tunnel, only to discover that Lillian had not dissolved. He did not know that Lillian was not from Fontaine, but was a thief, mistakenly believing that the water from the primordial sea needed... The two broke the flower vase during the struggle, but Lillian came out on top, knocking... With no way of escaping, she changed her clothes and hid in the costume. That she would have to go through guard inspection if she tried.
She had already become desperately hungry by the time we were chatting over macarons. So, she swiped 2 of them right under our nose.
At this point, all the events that happened in the...
Ah, so that's the whole story.
Bravo! Bravo!
Now then, Lady Farina, do you wish to... Please answer the question, Lady Farina. Also, if I may add, the trial has not yet ended. As such,
What? Are you reading my mind now? No. I have no further.
Wow! Look at that!
If there are no objections, then as the Chief Justice of Fontaine, the actual perpetrator of the serial disappearances, Cowell, selected with some modifications to the selector, he could ensure that the pre-selected young woman, to cover up any evidence while committing the deed, Cowell thought of allowing the water tank to fall, which would conceal the water left behind after the young... He also tampered with the rope suspending the water tank, using the fireworks at the end of the performance to cause the tank to drop. He poured the water from the primordial sea into a balloon during the preparation of the magic box, and stuck. Finally, he passed the prepared hook on a rope through the gap in the magic box's door when bringing the young woman to said box. When the magic trick officially began, the box containing the woman was lowered into the tunnel, tightening the hook rope and bursting the balloon. If all had gone to plan, the young woman would be dissolved at this time. However, Lillian was not from Fontaine, and thus fled the box with a loud noise. Realizing that there was trouble, Cowell entered the tunnel and met Liliane. Thinking that the waters had not yet taken effect, he decided. However, his opponent was more capable than he thought, and he was overcome, knocked unconscious, and placed into the magic box. And thus, Liliane, according to her own statements, then changed clothes and hid until the performance ended, before... As for Linny, he was in the underground structures within the Opera House, and from this reconstruction of events, we can conclude that Linny, the accused, is in fact innocent. While there is much in Linny and Liliane's conduct that should still be investigated separately, this case at least can be handed over to the Oratrice to make the final decision. As such, Linny and Lynette are officially declared not guilty.
Great work, partners.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Next, I think we deserve an explanation, Guard Vaughn. How did you find the water from the primordial...
Right! Your discovery caused me to make a serious mistake, you know.
I suspect that the accomplice mentioned in Cowell's notes was not Linny, but you, yes? I'm sure you know what you must do to lessen your sentence.
Speak quickly! Unless you want to earn yourself a one-way ticket to Coupon Town.
I was just following orders. We were supposed to place blame for the serial disappearances onto Linny, and thus cause suspicion to fall on the Fatui.
And now that your plan has fallen through, and the secrets of the water have been revealed, therefore you would be wise to tell everything you know.
Yes, I'll tell you everything I know. Our boss discovered that the water can cause people to... It can also be made into a potion, which when extremely diluted, can cause people... We've been in this business for a while now, and have made decent mora off it. The disappearances were also the boss's idea.
And now he can no longer talk.
Such ruthlessness.
An outrageous act. All present, please submit to inspection immediately.
So, we're just going back now? That's true, but...
Traveler, Paimon! Please wait.
Linny...
I know you may not want to speak to me right now. Maybe you don't even want to look at me. But still, let me thank you again for defending me to the end. Even after you learned that I'm a member of the Fatui. I guess. But regardless, I'd like the opportunity to set things straight. I didn't approach you with any ulterior motives or ill intent. I've spoken to you as myself, just plain Linny this entire time. As for why I'm a Fatus, it's because the goals of the House of the Hearth align with those of an orphan like me. That's all. That was how Father, who you might know as the Knave, approached recruiting us back then too.
The Knave? The one who controls the House of the Hearth? She's your father?
That's right. And since we're here, I was wondering, would you mind hearing a story? It's about my past. Back when our parents first died, Lynette and I were left to survive. I took to surreptitiously observing an older street performer who did magic. I took my sister through several streets until we found a crowded corner, and we began to perform magic tricks there. To my surprise, we proved to be pretty popular, and before long, an aristocrat came to me and claimed that
So you went from orphans to nobility just like that?
that was how we felt at first too. As if fate was on our side and we could say goodbye to those painful days. But I gradually discovered that while we were called foster children, he was really after my talent for magic tricks. He would constantly take me to all sorts of banquets to garner attention, which he would then use to expand his social circles.
That doesn't seem too bad either. Better than roaming the streets at any rate.
It took a while for me to realize. After one particular performance at a banquet, I discovered that Lynette was not. I waited a long time after we returned home, but she did not come back. The answer he gave me was, she caught the eye of the most eminent person at the banquet, so I sent her over as a gift.
Oh no. So he was gonna... But wouldn't Fontaine's laws...
As far as outsiders are concerned, this is a relationship akin to... I managed to ferret out the location of the mansion of that so-called eminent person and hurried through the night. All I saw was the moonlit ground covered in blood.
So, she'd already...
That's right. She had rescued my sister before she could come to any harm, and had even discovered several girls. Father, the knave, might have seen something in me, and so... The House of the Hearth welcomes you, for your interests align with ours. Here, none will ever betray you. I was hesitant to trust her. But she was also quick to destroy the noble who had taken us in at first.
Oh, so that's how the two of you joined the House of the Hearth.
She has her own plans. She has gained permission from the Sarita to first use the Gnosis' power when she obtains it.
So, she believes in that...
That's right. The whole House of the Hearth is currently working to combat that crisis. Today's case has also proven that people from Fontaine can indeed dissolve. Everyone at Hotel Bouffe d'été, including to us orphans, the only connection we have left to...
So, from small deeds like distributing magic pockets to huge...
It's all right. I understand. I just hope you can understand that even as a member of the House, I have never stopped making my own decisions. If you should need anything at all in the future, feel free to find me.
Bye, Linny!
Hey there. What was with the disappearing act you pulled right as the trial ended?
Were you looking for us, Navia?
Well, this whole thing isn't exactly over, is it? I do feel that we're getting closer to solving the serial disappearances case, though. Huh? What's wrong, my dear partner?
Besides, are you sure? And given that there's new evidence from the trial...
Ah, I see. Well, I won't lie. I'm a little shocked to hear that from you. Sorry. I might have been...
Don't say that, Navia.
Ah, and we were having so much fun investigating with you, too. It was like having new waters flowing into a stagnant mire. Sorry about that. Wait, shall we have a farewell meal? You know,
Huh? Do we really need to get that for...
Well, I'd just like to have a proper ending to every... Anyway, it would just be a meal, so it shouldn't take up too much.
You don't have to twist Paimon's arm. If possible...
Oh, wonderful. In that case, why don't we return to the...
All right, then. Let's have our farewell meal.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face. Tell me that you love me, even if it's